There are two things that I know that I'm good at. The first is driving, although I think a lot of people that are close to me are pretty much terrified of my driving, my mom included. The second is meeting strangers. I love going up to random strangers, I love getting to know random strangers, I love talking to random strangers. I know, it's weird, but I just really genuinely love people. Unfortunately, apps like Grindr have made it way too easy for me to exercise the two things I'm good at.
Untouched, and I need you so much.
Hi there. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dylan, I live in Venice, California, and this is episode 2 of my YouTube show, Gay in Venice. Not gonna lie, this is terrifying, and it's terrifying for so many reasons. But most off, it's because I have literally no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I just have a ton of ideas up here that I want to have out here, and so I just decided to make a YouTube show. And that's it. Today, I want to talk about gay dating, and more specifically, dating apps, and even more specifically than that, Grindr. Now, this is something I've been noodling for a while, and every single time I come to a concrete conclusion about how I feel, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Most of the time, figuratively, and then sometimes literally. Here's the bold claim, so hang in there with me, okay? I've decided that Grindr is the incarnation of evil. One day, after wanking went out, Satan came up from the underworld and was just like, I have the perfect plan to ensure that all gay people go to hell. I'll give you a little second to let that one sink in.
Wasn't that a fun little second? Okay, but seriously though, like 6 or 7 years ago, I remember when one of my friends was on Grindr, and I was like, that's the most disgusting thing ever, right? I mean, who would want access to an app that just tells you where all of the guys in your area are who have massive hearts on? Definitely not me. But then, over time, more and more people started using it, and like all apps that rely heavily on network effects, I was like, fine, I'll get it. There's enough people on there, it's worth it to me, that network is cool, or whatever, and I was like, what's the worst that can happen? But unlike good products that rely on network effects, like the fax machine, or iMessage, or shots of tequila.
2 shots of tequila.
Grindr is a bad product. It's Katie Heron's Animal World realized full on. Here is a laundry list of reasons why Grindr sucks.
Number 1, it's addicting. Before Grindr, whenever I needed to take care of some man business, or as Robert De Niro calls it in Dirty Grandpa, a number 3, I would just take care of it myself. But now it's like, I'll check Grindr, I guess. 2 hours later.
Why are you not responding?
Number 2, it's the perfect medium to objectify men. Here's a little sample of the profiles often found on Le Grindr. Notice a trend? Everyone is trying to conform to this nearly naked, abtastic mask virtual norm that honestly just doesn't exist in the real world. I mean, there are plenty of videos that have already commented on this, right? The ones where people talk to each other like they do on these apps, where it's like, hey, you're cute, suck my. But here's the thing. Guys see commercially accepted symbols of hotness like Zac Efron and Ryan Gosling and insert your favorite celebrity crush here in the media. Then they go look at themselves in the mirror, shirtless, and one of 2 things happen. 1, they like what they see. The abs, the douchey smirk, typically the fact that they're white. So they take a picture. Boom. Instant Grindr photo. Or 2, and I hate to say this, but it's like the more common process. I mean, we just don't like what we see in the mirror. So we start working all of the tricks in the book to get as close as possible to that like symbol of hotness. Right, you know what I mean? People who are like working the angles and flexing and the lighting, and it's like 100 photos later, maybe there's something that's like Grindr acceptable, or whatever that means. And I want to get back to the whole white thing for a second. We live in a society where apps categorize people based on menu options, one of which is race, or sometimes referred to as skin tone on apps that are more subtle about it, or at least trying to be more subtle about it. Anyway, it's very common to see shirtless torso pics on Grindr, and the race menu option is filled in with white. However, it's equally as common to see shirtless torso pics on Grindr where the race menu option is not filled in. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to because it irks me so much. It just infuriates me. And it infuriates me so much that I want to do this to a harmless banana! The torso pics on Grindr that don't have the race menu option filled in are often torso pics of guys that aren't white. And Grindr knows this and perpetuates this. Grindr has a feature called filters. Some filters, like age, are free. Other filters, like ethnicity, require payment. Grindr, like many apps these days, use what is called a freemium model. Notice how ethnicity is grayed out. If you don't have the paid version of Grindr, you can't filter by ethnicity. But look at this. This is the marketing pop-up that Grindr uses to try and get users to pay for their premium features. I'm sorry, but if this isn't an example of a business enabling systemic racism, then I don't know what is. And see, users know it too. It's like, not white? Well, leave your race blank. Maybe you'll have a better chance. And here's a sad fact. See, I was once guilty of doing that too. It was weird. Before Grindr, I never really cared about the fact that I wasn't fully white, but then I started receiving messages like monkey face and sorry not my type, and here's my favorite. And I have had this conversation too many times at this point, I can't even count. I'll meet a guy in real life off an app and he'll say something like, wow, you look better than you do in your photos. And I'll naturally ask why. Now, the nicest way I've had it put is, I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it. But ready for the rudest? I have literally had a guy say, well, you just look more exotic in your photos. And then I'm like, what do you mean by exotic? And he's like, oh, you just look more black in your photos. So that got rather heavy really quickly. I'm sorry. Anyway, the last reason why Grindr sucks that I'm going to talk about is this. Number 3. Grindr enables open relationships that, and this comes with a huge caveat that this is my opinion, are borderline unhealthy. Before we dive into this, I want to pose a question. How many straight relationships do you know that are open? Now think about that for a second, because I know 0. Now think about how many gay relationships you know that are open. Now, there are plenty of variables and reasons that could explain this dichotomy other than Grindr. But since I'm already on a Grindr rampage, I'm just gonna stick with it. One could argue that apps like Tinder and The League and Hinge offer the same sort of access to mates that Grindr does. But frankly, that's just not true. I mean, Grindr is a completely different animal. It exists to cater men to each other for sex, fast. And guys, let's be honest with each other, we often don't think with the right head. I mean, it's true. Girls think it's terrible with one guy in the relationship. Try dual dude. It's chaos. The C is right here. Now, I don't think that all open relationships are bad. I mean, I'm seriously not that cynical. And I can totally understand how spicing things up from time to time is appealing. I mean, really, I can. But there's a distinct difference between open relationships where both parties agree to hook up with a third guy together, or only when it's long distance, or on a one-off occasion, and open relationships where both parties consistently hook up with other men just for the sole purpose of trying something new. Come on. Like, seriously. At that point, is it even a relationship, or is it just a glorified buddy? Hey there! Did you like this video? If you did, it'd be a great thing if you could comment on it and share it. And if you're feeling super duper awesome, subscribe to this channel. And if you haven't already, go back and watch episode 1. But you may need some Kleenexes for that one. See you later!